Well, good day once again. We're going to continue in the book of Ephesians chapter 4. And today we're just going to look at two verses. We're going to look at Ephesians 4 verse 20 and 21. The Apostle Paul says, "But that is not how you came to know Christ." Now he's contrasting that with what we read yesterday in chapter 4 verse 17 through 19, where he talked about how the Gentiles, those that are apart from God, they're living in darkness. They're just living this life driven by their desires for gratification and self-preservation and so on. He says, that's not how you came to know Christ. Assuming, he says in verse 21, that you heard about him and were taught by him as the truth is in Jesus. Now, Paul is saying here that he's aware that the Ephesians heard a contrasting message about life as it's centered in Christ. And so he's saying to them, there's no reason for you guys to follow the pattern of the people that live around you, because I know when the message of Christ came to you, you heard about how Jesus lived. You learned the truth about God, the truth about life. You learned how differently he conducted himself and what he said about the way that we're really designed to live, what he said about righteousness, what he said about evil, what he said about good, what he said about bad. He's saying, so I know you guys have been taught about Jesus, that he called us to live a different way, that he said he was the way, the truth, the life. So he's saying, based on that, he says, I assume you heard about him, were taught him as the truth is in Jesus. He's saying, you know on some level that a life like those that are apart from God, it's not to be the norm for those that have now put their trust in Christ. But I think the important part for us here is to see that Paul was confident that the Ephesians had enough information about God as he has revealed himself in Christ, and about what kind of a human existence God created us to have, what kind of conduct, what kind of character is normative. All that came with, it sounds like, the first and most fundamental teachings about Christ. So he knew that they were somewhat versed in what following Christ and living a Christ-like life was like, so that there was no reason for them to be confused about blending in with the society that was around them, no matter how powerful the culture was. I think these are things we have to remind ourselves, that we are called to be different. Jesus said he's the way, the truth, the life. And as we follow him, we're going to be different in our conduct, in our character, in our motives, in our reactions, in our value systems, in our worldview. All of these things will change. Well, let's stop there for today. Thank you.